Hello. So I'm out of time at the moment, actually, time of day, as far as getting the varnish on. I like to do that outside and when I have some sunlight because I find that I can just see that much better. I want to make sure that my coat is not too thick that I'm putting on using a spray. Can kind of, well, with a varnish, I don't know how much you can see which way is the wind blowing, but you can definitely tell when you're using paint. So what do I do if I can't varnish? What do I do? Well, I can do at least start the next leg of the next step as far as getting all the miniatures done for the first scenario. So the first scenario calls for 12 Riders of Rohan and 24 Morannon Orcs. So I have half with paint on them already. This is the other half. There's 36 total, so there are 3 of these sprues. These are the Morannon Orcs, and they contain 12 figures. You can also see that there are some extra shields on here. The scenarios don't call for the shields, so these are an option that one could use. There are a number of miniatures that have shields already, and all of these, well, I should say most of these are just one part miniatures right on the sprue. They're a little two-dimensional, I guess. And so they are what they are. These are all in the videos. You're going to have 3 guys that look alike on each of these sprues out of those 36, it's a multiple of 12. Now, the Riders of Rohan are also duplicated. So you have a total of 12. You have 6 poses. So there's already 6 that are all painted. These are how they come. One thing you can do is you can paint the shields on the sprue and then cut them off. If you want to do some detail work, that's one way to do it. There are 2 riders with spear, 2 with hand weapons, axe and sword. I'll turn this one around. And 2 with bows. Now, I believe all the riders do have bows on them. As to whether you're going to declare that you're using a bow or not, you can specify that, I guess, however you work that out with your opponent. And so horses are simple. Two poses of horses, head up, head down, basically. And they just fit together. Now, they can be a little bit weak in the ankle because they're just held on by one peg. But depending on how you do your bases, you can always kind of work up the base around that. Maybe there's another hoof almost touching the ground where you might lock that in with some glue. That's really up to you. But I just wanted to mention a few other things. This is what I cut them off with. These are made for, well, I bought these to cut model railroad ties, or model railroad rails, the metal rails. And so they're more than what you need, but they don't really get dull. And they're very good for, like, getting in there. And so I really recommend these. And, of course, be very careful with those. And then a lot of people will, once you have the miniature off the sprue with these nippers here, clippers, what you can do is use the back side. Sometimes you'll have to use the blade side, but you can use the back side for the mold lines. Now, I did try, I just was curious about this. This is a line remover from Citadel. So the same company that makes the paints associated with Games Workshop. And the nice thing about this is that this has a machine. I'm assuming in a machine cut edge that's it's not flattened out or anything. It's got that sharp edge to it, and and then also the curve. I find useful for getting to those mold lines. And so that's what you want to use. Now, for all the miniatures in the set, I'll mention this in a second, but for all the miniatures in the set, I would use plastic glue because you have plastic bases, all the pieces are plastic. I would use this glue because what the difference between this and the super glue is that this will melt the glue together to form the bond, whereas the super glue will be basically an adhesive to join the two. Now, that said, if you ever want to change your miniature, if you have like a multi-part miniature where you want to, like maybe you want to change a weapon or something on a miniature or something, you could go with the super glue, because what you can do is you can put the model in the freezer, and once it is frozen, super glue becomes brittle and you can actually snap it off. Not so with the plastic glue. The plastic glue is going to give you the better bond. The super glue is going to give you a bond that you can do things with later. Also, you'll want to use super glue if you have a metal miniature or you have a metal combination plastic miniature. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is I just use a jar, something like this, to put all my sharp things into, so I can just set my X-Acto knife in there, and any other pointed things, any tall things, I just put right into this jar, and that just keeps them out of the way and doesn't take up a lot of space. So anyway, so that's that. And then one last thing is this green stuff. I have used the solid green stuff. This is the liquid green stuff. I haven't used this yet, but this can be useful for filling any gaps, especially in larger models. I have used the solid green stuff, and I can tell you that works really well. And then also for sculpting, if you haven't tried green stuff and just some basic sculpts, making a fur or something like that, like a fur cloak or something, it's definitely worth it. Lots of fun. It's like making terrain. It's just very rewarding to be very creative. I know this is a long video, but I just wanted to just run over some of that. If any of you are curious about what the models look like as you get them in the box set, and then some other ideas on how to handle them and how to get them on the table as soon as you'd like. Have a great day. Thanks.